Well, we are getting some breaking inputs which have just come in, where China's ruling Communist Party has endorsed a second 5-year term for President Xi Jinping. It has also appointed a new set of leaders backed by him. The 64-year-old Xi's second term was endorsed by the party at the end of its week-long Congress. Now, Xi, along with Premier Li Keqiang, who is aged 62, have ranked number 1 and number 2 in the Communist Party of China's hierarchy. Now, Xi and Li will continue based on 2 5-year tenure convention for top leaders. 5 new members will be elected to the 7-member standing committee of the party, which rules the country. And Xi and Li took over power in 2012 and are set to continue till 2022. So this is something that was expected, and on the lines, Xi Jinping gets his second term. The Communist China's Politburo has again put forth President Xi Jinping and Li Keqiang, the 2 top leaders of China. They will continue in their respective positions. We expect another 5 new leaders of the Politburo whose names have been announced. So it is something that was expected in terms of what was to happen in this key Congress meet within China. But what is interesting at this point of time is how this will strengthen Xi Jinping's hold over the administration. And it's also being said that after Mao Zedong and Xi Jinping, Xi Jinping's ideals may in fact go in as something which Communist China will abide by. So a significant bit of a development that is taking place. And for more on this, we are joined by Madhav Nalapat, who is an expert in China affairs. Mr. Nalapat, how do you view this development? This was, of course, expected, Xi Jinping getting a second term. Mr. Nalapat, if you can hear me, this was an expected development. Xi Jinping has got a second term, and this has just been announced now. Right, we seem to have lost the line with Madhav Nalapat there. We'll try to get him back as soon as possible. But meanwhile, I'm told that we are joined by Ramesh Ramachandran, our international affairs correspondent. Ramesh, this is a significant, development that is coming in from China. This was also expected. Xi Jinping has been endorsed for a second term.
Absolutely, Mohammed. Really no surprises there. Anticipated as that. And Premier Li Keqiang were expected to be endorsed as the 19th Party Congress, which concludes today. And more importantly, Mohammed, we are looking forward to the other 5 names in the powerful standing committee, which have not been announced yet. And that will be interesting to look at who the generation next of the Chinese Communist Party would be like. Remember, the standing committee is the most powerful executive body in the party hierarchy, and that will give the world a sense of the next generation, the next crop of Chinese leaders to take over the mantle from President Xi Jinping when he steps down at the end of his second consecutive 5-year term in 2022. And so that is the interesting thing to look forward to, the 5 members in the standing committee whose names can be expected to release in the next few hours going forward. But that said, there's also reports coming in from Beijing, Mohammed, that the much anticipated elevation of Xi Jinping's close aide, Wang Qishan, who is the counter-terrorism coordinator in terms, that may not materialize as the reports coming in. We'll have to independently verify going forward. But at the moment, as things stand, we're still waiting for the remaining 5 members of the standing committee to be made known.
And also considering the fact, Ramesh, that this is the second term for Xi Jinping, how do we expect Xi to, pursue foreign policy in his second term? We saw a more assertive China, a more combative China. Is that what is to be expected from President Xi now?
Mohammed, clearly, if you look back at the 5 years gone by under President Xi Jinping, remember he was elected General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, the CPC, in 2012, and he was elevated to the post of president the following year. So if you look back at the 5 years gone by of his first term, then clearly by any stretch of imagination, Mohammed, many say are already describing President Xi as the most powerful leader in China in a long, long time. And he, although he might not be in the same league as Chairman Mao or even Deng Xiaoping, but he is a very powerful leader in recent times, especially when you look back at his predecessors, Hu Jintao and others before him, Jiang Zemin, for instance. And that is manifested itself in the way he has conducted and coordinated his affairs, Mohammed.
Right.
He is the chairman of the Central Military Commission. He holds the anti-corruption body. So clearly he has all the levers of power in his hands. It remains to be seen where President Xi goes from here.
Absolutely. Indeed, do continue to stay on with us, Ramesh. I'm told that we are now joined by Madhav Nalapat. Mr. Nalapat, you've been tracking the affairs in China very closely. The fact that Xi Jinping has now got his second term, what does this mean for India?
Well, the question is, frankly, India's policy towards China. My own view is that Xi wants a very close relationship with India, especially in view of the fact that India is likely to be, in his view, a major market for several Chinese industries. And let's not forget, the Chinese people give legitimacy to the Communist Party of China entirely on the basis of economic development. During the last 30 years, China has become the second largest economy in the world. It's going to soon become the largest economy. And Xi Jinping has to continue the growth momentum. For that, India is crucial. So I think frankly, that there are grounds for optimism regarding India-China relations.
Absolutely, indeed. That is an important point that you've raised, Mr. Nalapat. And also, Ramesh, if I could come back to you on this. You spoke about the 5 members who are yet to be announced. Going forward, do you see, Xi Jinping's second term be any different from the first?
Well, Mohammed, just to take off the point where Professor Nalapat left, if you remember in his speech to the 19th Party Congress opening, he made a 3.5-hour-long speech in which the primary focus of his speech was, to begin with, on the economy. And as Professor Nalapat mentioned, one can expect him to focus on the economy as well going forward. But that said, in recent times, we've seen heightened rhetoric from Washington, especially with regard to China. And most recently, we heard Rex Tillerson, the U.S. Foreign Minister, speak at the CSIS in Washington, a think tank there, where he asked China to honor and respect the rules-based order. And that, to my mind, give an indication of where things might be headed in the next few weeks and months as far as U.S.-China relations go, Mohammed.
Absolutely, Ramesh. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed to both Ramesh Ramachandran and Madhav Nalapat for joining us in the broadcast there.